In a perfect world, nothing happens that is bad. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world in which every day there's something that is breaking, something that is broken, something that is causing trouble, causing pain, causing harm. And some people, they see anything painful or harmful, they turn a blind eye, they look away. Some people just cannot resist seeing the pain in the eye of another person. They cannot resist reaching out and extending a hand. Welcome to the Story Warrior Show, Story Warrior program, or as I prefer, Story Warrior Fireside Chat. Because today we have the great fortune of welcoming into our virtual studio or virtual fireside conversation three distinguished maestros, mavericks, trendsetters, trailblazers, whatever you need me call them. I know there are people that cannot turn a blind eye when someone is hurting. And I'm very fortunate that today we have Mendem Foundation in the building. Wherever you're coming from, whether it's in Asia, in Africa, and Middle East, wherever you're coming from, I want you to give them a big hand because these people cannot keep silent. They cannot keep silent. They're restless. They're tireless. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Madame Ayanyanka Jumbam. I'm talking about Mr. Jude Kijem. I'm talking about Dr. Jeffrey Chengui. They're joining from different parts of the United States. And we're still waiting one more on the way, Madame Doris Ngum, who is still on the way. She's trying to navigate her way through the virtual circle. And she might still make a peaceful, gentle landing here. What are they doing? They're doing something that most of us cannot do. I see them as idealists who are changing the face of Africa, who are changing the narrative about Africa. They have comfortable lives living in diaspora, but that's not enough. They're going back and they're doing incredible work. Welcome into the Story Warrior virtual environment. Madam Jumba, tell us where you're joining from. Don't tell me you're joining from Bamenda. Don't tell me you're joining. Nothing wrong with Bamenda, but I see you're dressed up like a true Bamenda queen.
I am a true Bamenda woman, but I am journeying from Wiley, Texas.
Wiley, Texas. I didn't even know there's a Wiley in Texas. Why are you guys so wild? Okay. Welcome aboard. You are the director of the Period Poverty Program.
Yes.
Just want to say welcome aboard. We're going to come to that very soon.
Yes.
And we have Mr. Jude Kijem. He is the chairman of the Mendem Foundation. Mr. Kijem, where are you joining from today?
All the way from Beaufort, Georgia.
Beautiful, Georgia. Yes, I know very little about Georgia, but I know a little bit about Beaufort. I know it's a beautiful place. And you're the chairman of the foundation.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing your chair along.
You're welcome.
And we have the very restless and very tireless Dr. Jeffrey Chengui, who is joining. Guess what? This gentleman cannot let this thing go. He's like, I'm at work, but I cannot stop being part of a good cause. Doug, where are you joining us from? Looks like you're at work. Are you wearing scrubs or are you trying to pull a fast one on us?
Yes, indeed. I'm wearing scrubs at work. And I'm journeying from Florence, Alabama.
Florence, Alabama. Man, I didn't even know there's a Florence in Alabama. Florence, Alabama. Okay, there's some unique places around the block. But what's bringing us tonight or today together is to talk about Mendem Foundation. What inspired you all to start Mendem Foundation? But first, what is Mendem all about? Maybe we can start with Mr. Kijem.
Oh, Mendem is it's a very popular term among not only Shesans. I would think it's a pidgin term of endearment. You say mend them, we mend them, picking them, and it was a way of us. When you're about to rally the troops when we're back in school. You want to say guys, or call attention to something important, you just say mend them, and everyone will pay attention. So it's a word that was coined by maybe before we got to Sacred Heart, I'm not too sure, but we, of course, we don't claim ownership of that word. We met it and we loved it, and we used it throughout our stay in Sacred Heart and beyond. And today our WhatsApp group is Mendem, and then we have an investment group, Mendem Investment. So it was just a natural progression for us, um, since it's a term that talks about our camaraderie, bringing us together. So it was just the right one to use. But
Oh.
it's definitely derived from Pidgin, Mendem. Yeah,
Okay, okay. And we're talking about pidgin English.
Pidgin English.
Mendem,
Yes.
I get it. I understand it. So it's like
Yeah.
guys get
Guys. Yeah.
together. It's like let's rally. It's like a clarion call. Let's
Yeah.
let's let's put hands together and get something done.
Absolutely.
So
So
oh
today it's men them, women them, picking them, mommy them.
yes.
That's what it is today.
Wow. Wow. So it started from guys who went through Sacred Heart College. That's you slip that one in. Shesons. I know Sacred Heart College is a prestigious secondary and high school educational college in Northwest Province of Cameroon. For those of
Right.
our viewers who are not familiar, maybe Dr. Jeff can tell us what is the big deal about Sacred Heart? There are hundreds and hundreds of schools in Cameroon and Central Africa and all of Africa. What's the big deal about Sacred Heart?
Well, Sacred Heart is one of those unique colleges, and believe me, when I talk about Sacred Heart, I was grafted into that institution, having been in a mixed institution, which was a Presbyterian secondary school, PSS Mankan, for first cycle, and I joined Sacred Heart in high school. I was able to see the uniqueness of the college, and it's an all boys boarding school, and kids get there around the age of 11 to 12, and then till they graduate 17, 18, where they go into university. And being in Sacred Heart, I think that school really helped hone in and build some skills to date that has taken me through my career path. Very unique. The curriculum was very unique in its setting, both educational curriculum and extracurricular curriculum. The extracurricular curriculum was what really got me going. There was just that absolute balance between the stress of education and just letting you experience life as a young man, as a boy, and burn the energy and the calories, but also help you grow some very strategic leadership skills in that environment that has really been beneficial to us.
Very interesting. I know it's highly regarded institution. So it's boys only. It's dormitory or it's boarding school. So, Madam Jamam, how did you manage to sneak yourself into Sacred Heart when I know that it was all boys? Are you saying that you were committing some crimes there, causing some trouble there, and getting into trouble with the priest? What happened? How do you sneak into this organization that comes from men, them, boys, guys?
It's a long story, but we are actually classmates. They were in Sacred and we are in Lords, and I think the uniqueness of our graduating class is that we were very close as a class, and we developed very good friendships between our classes that have prolonged beyond the Lord's and Sacred Heart zone. And how I found myself actually in this program, it was totally, I wasn't looking for Mendem Foundation. I was working at another company, and I decided to volunteer my time. As everyone does in companies, they have these volunteer things that you can take part in. And while searching for some volunteerism, I found one where they were buying parts and equipment to take to Africa and Kenya. And it just struck me. I was like, do you mean in Africa, my Africa, there are girls who don't have pad? And I talked to this African American lady, and she said, yeah, there's quite a few of people in Africa that don't have it. And I felt like embarrassed, right? I felt embarrassed because I'm from these places, and I'm not sensitized to the needs of the community in which I grew up in.
Yes.
And I was expressing this to another friend of mine, and she said, "Oh, Menden Foundation actually does this. They have a program on period poverty." And I was like, "Really?" I just reached out to Jude, and I was like, "I want to know about the program, and I want to volunteer sometime." I wasn't looking for leadership. I was just
Yes.
looking for a way to volunteer in my own country. I was looking for, okay, people are going to Kenya. I want to go to Cameroon. I want to give back to my country. And of course, as chairman would have it, if you know Jude, you already know when you're interested in something, he'll build a path for you. So he throws me in there, and she's like, "Oh, I actually need you. There's a position I want you to take on." And I looked at him, I'm like, I wasn't looking for leadership. And he's like, "You can do this." And that's pretty much how I found myself in the whole program.
Wow, this is incredible. So you were out there just finding a way to help out. You did not necessarily go to Sacred Heart College, Mancon, but you went to a sister college that was all female. And I know from some little bit of research that the two are very, very, they got very good relationships, spiritually blessed. But later on in life, you stumble on Mendem. He said, but I know these guys from way, way back, and I want to be able to contribute. And they managed through the leadership of Mr. Kijem to rope you into the whole fold and say, "Man, we got something perfect for you to do. You don't have enough to do with your family, with your work. We got something for you to do." So is that how you joined Mendem and then became not just an advocate, but also a volunteer who is going out and championing the cause for period poverty? Is that what really went down? You want to
Yes,
add a little
that's
bit more?
exactly how it went down.
Exactly.
That is simply put. But if I can just add a little bit to that,
Please.
the thing is, um, there are always people coming, right, who want to volunteer, cash or a little bit of time. But with her, it was different.
Hmm.
It was the passion. It was the how inquisitive she was, and she was going way beyond the money and just way beyond. This is just a one-time feel-good thing that I'm trying to do. So I kind of picked that up right off the bat, and I spoke to Jeff about it because it was not just one conversation. You could tell that this is someone who it's like it was more than just like an aha moment, right?
Yes.
And in the world of philanthropy where things are done with little or no pay, the best
Yes.
kind of help is when people offer. Now, when you come and request, it's a
Yes.
whole different game. When they offer, then they are coming from the
Yes.
purest of
Yes.
places to
Yes.
tackle that job. So I had no doubt in me that she would just be the perfect person to be the best ambassador because she had all these ideas, and it wasn't just ideas, but she was ready to do the work. So we were like, the door is wide open now, just walk in. Then it was too late. It was too late for her because then she was like, "No, I was like, no, 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 no. We already
She
decided,
wanted
and
to retreat or
it is
regulate
unanimous.
as they say.
It is unanimous.
Come on, man.
There's no,
He could
And
not go all the way
I
across
think
town
I
and
think
retreat.
he did a good amount of asking without me knowing where it was going to.
Yes.
Because personally, as a woman, I took it as a personal experience for me. I went back to my upbringing and my own experience in the journey of a woman. If I didn't have PAD, what would have happened to me? Right? I asked myself those questions, and I couldn't fathom a child having to pick or choose anything but lack of resources to take care of their hygiene every month. It was just
Okay.
like, what is at stake here? What do you want her to do? It's not like she can make it go away. It's a
Yes.
natural thing. And it was just like very sad for me that people have to go through that. And it was even more, I think when I walked into the program, it was more magnified by the crisis on the ground. And
Yes.
I mean, people having to choose even like their daily meals, and then this was even a bigger issue at that point. So
Yes.
yeah, there was quite a bit to think about.
Wow. Okay. This is really something that I definitely want us to come back and put a spotlight on. But I want us to go to Dr. Chenry and just, you know, find out a little bit. How did the idea of men that really coalesce? How did it come together? Especially because you live in different cities. You are all busy executives. Some of you are medical doctors, some of you are software engineers, some of you are busy mothers, some of you are engineers. You're doing all kinds of things. You're not in one city. How did you muster the courage to say, we can do something? And yes, even when there's a civil war on the ground, that people are using mitigational language and calling it a crisis. Goodness sake, it's a war, it's not a crisis. People are dying in our homeland. How did you guys come together and say, even in the midst of all this darkness, we're going to light our own candle and put it on the table and say, candle shine? How did you guys come together to get that kind of courage? Because to me, I shudder when I think about it. How did you guys make it happen? Especially with the raging civil war, or if you prefer crisis or whatever you call it. I don't know what you call it, but I think it's a definitely a sign of a civil war that's going on in Cameroon.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean that question is so packed and heavy, but they are just a combination of things that brought us to this. But in all of this, there's one cardinal person which I know doesn't want to take credit for it, but I think our chairman, Mr. Kijem Jude, masterminded this right from inception, and it took him several years. And there are a couple of things we do have a class reunion where we meet once a year and just talk. And for several years, we've talked about doing something as guys, not just to meet, have a good time, relate with each other. And we thought at some point we needed to do something. But two things happened in 2020 when we had COVID-19 and there was the lockdown, and the fact that most of us, I see.
We just want to let everyone know, Madam Doris Ngoma has just joined us. Please give her a big hand before we go back to the conversation with Dr. Explaining. Madam, I'm sure you can hear us. We can see you there. Please have fun as we go ahead. If you have any background noise any background noise, might be wise to eliminate it or go to an area that is safer. All right, go ahead, Doc. Talking about the
Yes.
founding of the organization.
Yes, so with COVID-19 and the crisis in Cameroon, and then let alone the fact that most of us had arrived the fourth floor, we were beginning to we started looking at this more than the occasional situation, but at legacy. And so we came to the point where we said, look, there's this situation going on in Cameroon. We are on the fourth floor. We need to establish some legacy, and let's see what we wanted to do. And at that point, I think everybody was in agreement that it was time for us to do something. We could come, sit all the time, talk about the problems of Cameroon, talk about the problems of our society, but if you don't do something, nobody's going to do something about it. And I think at that point, the chairman really let us give the clarion call, mend them, let's do something. Let's put boots on the ground. Let's not talk about this. Let's do something about it. And that eventually started the birth of this organization.
Talk about the work of a mastermind. That is genius right there, Mr. Kijem. You are the mastermind, and I know you don't even want to take credit for it. You don't even show any sign at all that you had any hand in this. But for one moment, we want to put a spotlight on you. What in your upbringing, what in your childhood, sir, got you thinking it's not enough for us to just share a beer, which is a very Cameroonian thing, which is a very African thing. We are egalitarians. We like to get together. We like to share. What in your upbringing said to you, we cannot just have a good time when our brothers, our sisters are suffering back home? And yes, we're going to put boots on the ground. You're going to rally all these busy, super busy people and tell them, guys, line up. We're getting some people to go, to go represent us on the ground. What is it in your upbringing? What is it? Is it the kind of food that your mom fed you guys growing up? Is it a diet thing? Is it what in your upbringing did you see that we could not see? Tell us. Take us to that moment, because this channel is about telling the untold stories, about unsung heroes with an untold story. Is there a moment? Take us there, because that will help us to get to a point where we feel easy and say, okay, all right, yeah, we know June is a mastermind, but this is what we are not seeing. Want to go ahead and share with us? You're muted, Mr. Kijan.
Sorry, I forgot
Okay.
that I was muted.
Okay. No.
When I think about it's not. I only started thinking about it when we started the foundation, right? Because
Mhm.
I was trying to look at what pushed me into it. But when I go back, I noticed when my dad retired, because my dad retired when I was from one, getting to from
Wow.
two, and he never stayed idle. He was always busy, and there were always these letters coming to the house
Hmm.
from the International Prison Fellowship.
Hmm.
So I think that's where I started getting the idea of service, of going beyond yourself, because he wasn't getting paid for that job. But I don't think
Hmm.
I did process it then. I just it did it stood out because I always see those big envelopes that would come, and of
Hmm.
course they were from abroad, so they always they stood out every time.
Hmm.
But I think for me that is where it started. But the next step was by the time we were leaving high school, I think we had such a friendship among ourselves, like my classmates, that I really did. I cherished it, and I was already thinking about how do we keep it. And I remember vividly the last day we were in school after writing the A levels, and we
Hmm.
were packing our things to leave. I remember looking down at everyone, trying to get out of out of the dormitories, and I and I said, guys, this is the last time that we will be able to get all of us together with no expenses and no troubles, all the logistics that goes with it. But from here on, there are people who are going to go abroad, people are going to Yaoundé. It would take a lot for us to come together. So let's just cherish that moment.
Hmm.
Uh, and from there, there was always that yearning to keep us together. And so when Yahoo groups came up, I created one for the class. That's how we started connecting with people from different. So that class idea started coming together. And then when I came to the US, we started the class reunion. I hosted the first one, the first couple, and then again it started building. So we started looking at how can we do things, but then it was just for ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, but Patience and I, my wife, whenever Christmas rolled around, we wanted to do something. We're like, oh, let's do something to someone back home. And
Hmm.
I'll get my friend Mao, who's part of the executive in Cameroon. He's really good
Hmm.
at community work. So we'll just give him something to go do an activity. And of course, again, for me, it was like, oh, let me bring in my friends. We're always we have this great friendship. Let me pull them in. And so we started as a class when Christmas rolled around, and I was trying to
Hmm.
put the money together. I would ask people from the class, and then we'll do it. But one thing that struck me was my mother-in-law, who had not had lost her job. She wasn't working, but she kept doing stuff for people, which really struck me because we kept receiving messages from people thanking her for what she had done, some of the things we did not even know. And I kept
Hmm.
asking myself, where is she pulling this from, right? Even when you think she doesn't have, but somehow she's able to do all of
Hmm.
these things. So
Wow.
again, that just helped to fuel that idea of service and
Hmm.
just the gratification that came from it.
Hmm.
But by the time 2020 rolled around, I had come to the idea that, what, there's no structure to what we do. If you don't have a structure, you don't know if you're doing too little or too much.
Hmm.
There's no way to track it. Sounds like we need to get some kind of structure. And
Hmm.
putting it under a foundation was pretty much the best way we thought.
Wow.
we could get that done. So that's how that idea of the foundation came into place. That we need some structure. If we get structure, we would. And again, of course, I had to go back and I spoke to Jeff, and there's some key
Mm,
people that I always talk to.
mm.
We kind of we came up with a strategy because in our class, everyone is, when you bring up an idea, people will shoot it down. Like you have to be, yeah, you have to be prepared. They will come after you. So when we presented it, even though we thought we had a flawless presentation and this was such a good idea, we see the importance of helping back home. We laid the case. There was so much opposition, but we had learned from all our activities in the past that you cannot start big. You always go with whatever small thing you have going on. So we
Mm,
decided, you know what, whoever is on board, yeah, it is. We're going to start right now. And if people want to jump on along the way, that is fine. So we laid out
mm.
the case and said, let's do this and get it off the ground. And we actually gave ourselves a test because we started in June of 2020. We said, okay, between June and December, we kept it within the class, and every month we put money together. We
Mm.
got our first person to help us, Alice, back home, and we'll send her money, and we'll do something every month. So by the time December came around, we're like, okay, we're committed, we can do this. So let's get around
Wow.
doing the registration, the 501c, and the
Wow.
rest is history. We're like, okay, now it's no longer a Mendem class of 91 thing. It's now something for everybody to come on board. Yeah.
Wow. This is incredible. First, you tested the ground. You did test, they see the proof is in the pudding. And now you went up against all the strong forces that were trying to shoot it down. You
Yeah.
said, we're going to go ahead. We'll go ahead. And not only go ahead, but let's bring all the ladies in. Let's bring the picking them in. Let's bring the mommy them in. Let's bring the wife them in. Let's
And that
bring
was
all.
that was a game changer for us.
Okay, how do you
When the
argue that?
ladies came in.
Because this is important, I want both you and I don't know, Madame Jubam was probably not on the internal side of that conversation, and Dr.
Mhm.
Jeff is back. How did you negotiate that? Because no, Sacred Heart is mostly for boys. You guys, you got your things, men them, and now is we them, or now you're involving women. So how did that discussion go? Did they initially support it, or were they skeptical? Like it will be difficult to make decisions with women, or were they supportive of the fact that regardless they will make us better together? How did the discussion about allowing women to join? Because now women, men then is not just for men, it's for everyone.
Jeff, you want to take that?
All right. Yes. I think the decision was. I mean, when it's a guy thing, there are people that are gonna make a few comments. But I think even from its inception, when we started, we always knew that at some point the organization was gonna grow beyond the confines of just the guys. And when that
Mhm.
time was fast approaching, we said, "Hey guys, you know what?" And the beauty of that time is here, but also an organization is only as good as how active and how robust
Yes.
the members are.
Mhm.
And when people realize that, hey, this required a little bit more time than they thought, I think a lot of people were very welcoming when we were bringing in the energy. And
Mm.
as anyone will understand, there is no way an organization can just survive in this present day if we're all guys.
Yes. Yes.
There needed to be that balance. And
Wow.
believe me, when the ladies stepped in, it was a game changer, like Mr.
Everything
Chairman
changed.
said. It
Mm.
took us from the ground level to the top. And
Wow.
and in such significant ways that you can't even put it down
Wow.
altogether.
Wow.
It was an exponential growth,
Hmm.
very, very beneficial for us. And I think without any doubt, we will say that was I think that was the one of the best decisions we took.
All right. I love that, and this I want to I blow on to the women because they make us better. They see things we cannot see. That's just a fact. Anybody that denies that is living in darkness. Some of us raised by women, single women, widows. Without their generosity, without their kindness, we would be nobodies. So, Madam, when you came in, did you feel the guys had really made up their mind, or they were still a little bit skeptical? Are they really letting us participate, or you took off and you went straight to the into the clouds and further up into space?
Oh, when I came in, I was just told, here is your platform, you own it.
Oh, oh my
Go.
God, that is better because without any inhibitions, you could fly then.
Yes,
You
I
could
mean, and I
go.
was like, what did you have before? Can I have something to study? And like, whatever rules you make, that's what goes. Just take it and run with it. So it was very warm. It was very warm.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Kudos.
it was.
Kudos to the men. And back to you. So when you got started with period poverty, tell us how you succeeded to work in the midst of the civil conflict, the civil war, or crisis, or whatever people call it. How did you succeed to do that? Because you live in Wiley, Texas, and most of the young girls that are affected by this, and of course young boys, are in Cameroon. How did you operate? Did you have to hire Russian mercenaries and them to Africa to deliver this to them? What did you do? Did you use Jeff Bezos's drones? What did you do? Please let us know, because this is a very sensitive topic, and somehow our mothers don't always talk about it. But how did you do it from here?
So the way the program is structured, and the way all of our programs are structured, is that we have a partner in with Royalty World,
Mm,
and our coordinators are just the most amazing set of people, right?
mhm,
I call them, personally, I call them my foot soldiers, because they're the ones who do the leg work. They go
mhm,
out there, they take the temperature of the areas that we want to explore, and
mhm,
and they meet with the leadership of those areas, and they kind of discuss with them and have a feel for what's going on the ground,
mhm,
and then they organize how that campaign. So if we, for example, we wanted to do a campaign in a specific area, they
mhm,
they're going to do some legwork to at least get a feel for that environment, and how they can structure that
mm,
campaign,
mhm,
how they can talk to the parents separately from the children, and then bring that together into a big campaign.
mhm,
Period poverty is not an easy topic. Unfortunately, it's still a taboo,
mm.
even in 2024. But I think with education, which is
Yes.
kind of what we're doing with the campaigns that we do,
Mhm,
we're trying to break through those roadblocks,
mm.
those uncomfortable topics.
I see.
The fact that a child grows up and hasn't had the conversation with their mom, or doesn't feel at ease even engaging in that way with their parents,
Mhm,
it's kind of very sad, but it's our reality, and
mhm,
we have to target it and be the game changers, so that the
mm.
next generation doesn't experience what this generation is experiencing. So um a lot of what we're doing is really, the force behind it is Royalty World and their coordinators, and what they do on the ground, even with the war going on. I
Yes.
tell you, when they are out there trying to do a campaign, we pray, we send words of comfort, we send words of prayers. It's almost like it's an outer body experience for me. When especially when they went to Bamenda the first time we did a campaign in Bamenda,
Mhm,
I remember we stayed up a few nights. I just remember just having that anxiety of them being on the ground, but seeing Mad Doris and her team pray through it all. Every day they were going out, they prayed, and they went out, and they thought about the children that they are going to impact, the impact of the program,
mhm,
the impact of the entire goal of everything that we're doing,
mhm,
setting up those communities, so that they can talk to each other even after the campaigns,
mhm,
and influence each other with the whatever education we have left behind is
Yes.
really key. So sustainability after that, and making sure that we can follow through and follow up, has been really challenging, but
Mhm.
was still like just chugging through everything and trying
Wow.
to, yeah.
So, from what I hear you saying, Madam, is it's not just a physical boots on the ground. There's also spiritual warfare going on. You like staying up days and praying so that they not only go deliver, but deliver it safely, because we don't know who are the people on the ground that don't have the right intentions. Like you
Mhm.
have to reach these young girls. Maybe someone is trying to harm them. So we're fortunate to have Madame Doris Ngum, whom I know from uh, previous conversations. She's the one on the ground. She's like the Messiah on the ground, the one that is getting things done. Madame, if you can hear us, if you can say something, we want you to tell us about Edie Royalty World, how you're able to work almost like a Florence Nightingale working in a place of war, and yet you do it with a smile, and yet you do it with young people that are still very tender. Are you able to say a word or two, ma'am? I know the connection has been a problem today.
Yeah, it has been, and and I think it's the image is currently frozen, which tells me that
Yes, the image is
probably
frozen.
having,
So what we'll do is
yeah.
we'll go to other conversations and then see if we can come back to her later, or we're gonna do a specific session just to carry her voice and make sure that people who are out there in diaspora who are hungry to her, they can connect to the right people. Because to me, I don't know about you guys, this particular session today is a special one because it is thanks to God that we met. It's not like I grew up thinking that I was going to meet Mr. Kijam. No, we are several, maybe a couple of years apart. You grow up in a city, I grew up somewhere else. I did not grow up, I read about some famous people with your last name, Madame Juma. I know a couple of them that met in journalism circles in Cameroon, but we did not plan to meet. But the way we met was pure happenstance. You cannot tell me that God doesn't look and still reach people in different ways. I'm excited because the way we met was pure accident, but it has not been an accident from then to now. We've continued to connect and share ideas and tips about things that we're doing in our lives. So, Mr. Kitchen, back to you. Yes, there are barriers. Yeah, there are obstacles. What are some of the challenges that you guys are still facing today as you're continuing to reach out and evangelize, so to speak, or help people, so to speak? Because it was not a coincidence that we met. I think the one above had some reason for us to meet, and that's why I'm very excited about the work that you're doing.
Yes, that's a very good question. I think the biggest will be sustainability for us, guaranteeing that we can continue to do the work in the long run, and that's why we're trying to push all the avenues that we can to arrest that problem. We're trying to get people to subscribe for to do monthly donations that
Mhm.
guarantees us some stability and a long-term vision. Now we've been able to grow that, but not to the extent that we want.
Mhm.
Um, our programs, like the Pure Poverty program that Ayanks just mentioned, that's the main issue there, because we have uh, a set of grassroots donors that we work with, and it is really amazing to see the amount of work we've done just with working with that group.
Mhm.
And you can only imagine what will happen if we can really expand it, and if more people can get on board,
Mhm.
widen the tent,
Mhm.
I think signing up for those recurring donations is really key for us. It's something
Okay.
that we keep pushing, but at the same time we need access to all those rooms that can help. There are deep pockets out there.
Mhm.
We know there are individuals that can single-handedly sponsor an entire program
Mhm.
with us, and that's really our mission here. Our mission is we are
Mm.
in the diaspora. Everyone is busy. People are skeptical of working with people back home, or if you're worried about the mismanagement of funds, or is it
Mhm.
going to
Mhm.
happen the way I want. And we're just simply answering that question. We're saying that, yeah, it's a platform that has everything all set up. If all you have is money and you don't have the time, we will execute for you. If you have the money and you want to volunteer or just volunteer,
Mm-hmm.
there is room for you. We just want to make it easier for people to answer the question. I'm talking about people in the diaspora. How
Mm-hmm.
can I be of help? Because
Voila.
we have a country where we don't have the luxury like the Ghanaians or the Nigerians who can say, well, where can I help? What's going on in Cameroon? It stares at you. It's right there in your face. We are in such a big crisis right now. There is just so much need. Um, Again, and we do recognize a lot of NGOs are pouring into Cameroon and all these other countries, but we have come to realize that the real change comes from us. It's
Mm.
us that need to drive that train.
Yes.
And we don't work we don't work in silos. We collaborate wherever we can, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why we have Royalty Wall on the ground, and they are doing an amazing job. I think that's a big key to
Mm-hmm.
our success, getting the right team on the ground
Mm-hmm.
that are able to do the work. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, sustainability is our big. That's what keeps us up at night, and we are really seeking to network, seeking to blow the alarm bells that what there is so much need back home. We
Okay.
have identified all those things. We have a well-oiled machine, and we
Mm.
just need the resources. Um,
Okay.
be it if you have brains that you want to offer, good. If you have money that you want to offer, good. If you have equipment, like now you see Doris, who is a very crucial part of our machine, is not able to join. If she had maybe Starlink, for example, that would have been a guaranteed connection right there. So
And
just things like that that help,
yes,
push the work forward is
Mhm.
very, very important for us. Yeah.
that's very well understood from my end. And we're still going to come down to some numbers. But let's go back to Dr. Chengmi and see when it comes to programs on the ground, period poverty, that is very essential. That's very necessary. At
Mhm.
what point, Mr. President, did you feel like there's a need for us to start talking about leadership? And why? Why should we care about leadership? Why should we care about delivering more pads, sanitary pads to young women? Why should we not care about giving food to those who are starving in urban communities without a job or can't go to school? Why leadership? That sounds very, it's like not tangible. I can't feel it. I can't touch it. Why leadership? For goodness sake. I don't like leadership. I don't. I'm an anti-leadership campaigner at this time. Tell me why leadership? Why didn't you put as many something concrete that we can touch, we can eat, people can sleep well at night?
Wow. There are so many levels to that, but just to start and looking at this, when we got into the field and you are tackling all these different crises or situations that needed our attention, from education to the period poverty and to economic empowerment and all these things, we realized all of these had one root cause, and it's failed leadership. The leadership of the country had failed and failed woefully. And therefore, these things arose. And because our organization was in such a way that we could not change leadership from the top, we decided to go with the bottom top approach, you
Mm.
know. And it went back to the trainings that we have, having worked with our partner organizations and reviewing the data that they were bringing to us and just looking at what was going on. And in addition to some of our executive members, there's one of our executive members that really took this as a partner, as a personal issue. To him,
Mhm.
it was extremely personal. He's like, it's personal, religious, however you want to put it, and said, "Hey, we want to see something change."
Mm.
And when we discussed it in the executive and just looked at this forum, we realized, you know, if no matter how much foreign funds or how much you bring from outside into an environment, if you don't direct those funds to start to start a generic change from within, then when those resources stop flowing, the transformation stops.
I mean, deep
And
trouble.
therefore we realize, let's go to the root cause and start
Oh,
changing that narrative from there. Let's go and
okay.
tackle the problem, because
Okay.
the people who are kids today, the people
Yes.
that are not in leadership position today, the youths that are here today, are going to be the leaders today, tomorrow, and in the future.
Mm.
And because we grew in a generation that the current leaders did not know any better, if we can show the generation today that there could be a better way of doing things,
Mm.
and they could, and then we could effectively change the face of
Mm.
things in Cameroon.
Okay.
And there is one thing, like they said, there's a slogan we carry, and which was best coined by the former president, President Obama, that said, "We are the change we've been waiting for.
Yes, sir.
There's no one else coming. We have to do it." And therefore, in that point, we realized, hi, if we can go in and change the mentality, not just leadership in terms of them
Mm.
leading organizations, but being leaders of their own life, taking responsibility for their own life, and
Yes.
looking within their environment to see what changes they could make to change the environment. Those are some of the things we really did look at, because you're
Mm.
looking at a scenario where you say, hey, if you take charge of your life, I am a big proponent of the fact that whatever environment that for whatever reason you were born in, you have been placed in that particular environment, you have all the tools you need to succeed and excel.
Mm.
But that is only if you recognize them. And that is why a good part of this leadership we are looking at is helping people to recognize who you are, what is in your environment, and how can you use what is around you to
Mm.
bring you to your highest potential.
Very interesting. So you're going to the root, because if you water the root will hold the ground firm and the
Absolutely.
plant can grow tall.
Yes,
And
indeed.
if you meet them, from what I understand, when they're still young, they grow those skills, they begin to impact those around them, begin to share
Absolutely.
their own goodwill with those around them. And that's how
Yes.
you light up a village, or that's how you change the entire community. So tell us, where are you starting with these leadership programs? Is it at the University of Boya? Is it at the level of the government? Is it in the military? Is it in the priesthood? Is it in the sisterhood? Is it in the government rural area in Jakiri? Is it in those that are working in the rice farms in Dop? Or is it those that are growing the Ghana crops in my village? Who are the people that you're touching who would eventually touch others? I really want you to break it down, sir, because this is important. This is stuff that can change your life, can change my life, can change our entire country. It can change our continent. And even though we
Wow.
make light of it the way that we put these questions, but I think that they're very, very serious. I want everyone who's watching, whether it's my followers in Singapore, in Asia, in Middle East, in America, in Africa, hear what this Mendem Foundation is about to do on the ground, because it's different. They're breaking the mold. They're bringing a new spice, and they're planting the seeds on the ground. So where are you starting this initiative?
All right. When this program we call the Transformation Leadership Academy, and it comprises of a couple of programs. When we initially launched, we got a couple of youths. I mean, most of them were above the age of 13, right up to 30, and we just launched a little scholarship programs where we brought them together first for a 1 week boot camp. And in that boot camp, there were a couple of things we did. One was to help them recognize who they are. What is their identity? What is unique about them? And then secondly was to give them identify what other crises, whatever deficiencies they have in terms of relationship, what has failed, and try to help them see those and show them how that has affected their life. And then third, we looked at what were the resources, help them to see what resources were in their community, and then
Yes.
went from there. So we did that first boot camp. And from that, we realized at some point we need to go a little bit deeper. So we've come up with a program where we've started now in the opportunity of being able to grow up in boarding schools. A boarding schools function like an like a complete society of its own. It's a replica of our country. It's a replica of the bigger society. And within this society, within these boarding schools, where there's a student government, there's leadership, there's activity, we thought we could get in at that level because we realized the type of leadership the type of leadership reflected in those small institutions like the boarding schools was what was being exposed at the macro level, at the level of the nation. The way the leaders treated the leadership treated the student body within those schools is exactly a replica of what the national body was doing to the entire populace. So therefore, we said, okay, if we can start at this level, and that led us first to go to our alma mater, which is a place where we had connection, and
Safe
God
enough.
bless it, we had the favor of the Archbishop of the diocese in Bamenda. We got the blessing of the principal of this institution, and we had this massive organization. We have Royalty World, led by Doris and Lead from the Heart, the other organizations that work with them. I mean, these guys had a curriculum that, I mean, it's so, it has taken time and energy to put together to identify the fundamentals of where to go, how to do, and where to start. So we
Yes.
started in Sacred Heart. We took the leadership of that school. We've gone and they had a boot camp, which we call the prefects boot camp. And this is the leadership of this institution where we go, we train them, and we just expose them to a new style of leadership, show them what could be the possibilities, what could be the changes, how it could be done. And after they do this, the second thing is when they go back to school, we also got the teachers and
Yes.
the administrative leadership of this school to also have their own, which is called the inspirational leadership for the train for these teachers, so that they understand when this student government is applying these changes, they could have the entire support of the institution
There
so
you
that we
go.
could balance out and bring
Wow.
it up. So that was the second one we did. So we did not tackle just the children, we tackled the teachers too.
Teachers. Oh,
And
okay.
then the third program you put is after they start this program, there needs to be a follow-up. There needs to be what we call monitoring and evaluation in development terms, where you go in, you monitor what is going on, you evaluate the changes that are going on, you make the correction, you boost the morale. So now that goes through what we call the TLA clubs, or in other words, the dignity clubs that will be
Oh,
started and led in
dignity
this.
clubs.
Yes.
Dignity. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Sorry to cut you short, dog. Dignity clubs. And is that leading up to the TLA? Or is that leading up to maybe summarize your thoughts? Because I want to ask something to the president that I know it's bubbling at the back of my mind, but finish up your thought.
Yes. So those are the dignity clubs or the TLA clubs within those organizations. Now we were like, we can't leave this just within the boarding schools. How do
Okay.
we bring it back? So currently we are working with a program. One other new program we are working is how we are working to get what they call the Inspiration Leadership Cafe, the Transformation Leadership Academy Inspiration Cafe, which will be like it will be like a breakfast that is going to now host young leaders within society, extending to now this one is geared for mostly university, secondary school graduates, universities, and young entrepreneurs and leaders within the community to come sit and let's sit and go through the same process, because these are the ones that are next in line in leadership at a more macro level. So we thought
Wow.
at that point, if we sit with them and start putting these lessons in, then we can
Yes.
start changing society. That we are planning. And then we also have this one, which is the online, which is the Transformation Leadership Academy online mentoring program or leadership, where we use the books of John C. Maxwell, who is a renowned writer and leader in the fields of leadership. We are currently doing the 21 laws of leadership now. And this is the opportunity where everyone from the world, anyone, it doesn't matter who you are, you can log in with different weeks. We've broken down the curriculum to different weeks. We read it, and whoever prepares the lesson, you share from a uh, personal point of view, from your lifestyle, from your experience, from whatever you're
Mhm.
doing. And I think we were just so honored to have you, Dr. Gideon, on there. And I mean, what you shared was nothing like we had seen before, and it definitely raised the level, because sometimes we think, oh, let's help at home, let's go at home, let's do things back there, they don't have enough. But within this sphere, as we carry out these activities, we realize even those of us who are in the diaspora, there's still so much to learn. There's still so much we
So
can
much.
just
Absolutely.
to be able to connect and learn and build ourselves up.
Absolutely.
We could be a change, better leaders. If we are better leaders where we are, then we
Yes.
can reflect better leaders back home. And those are some of the programs we are looking at, and
Mm.
there are still more coming up as we go for towards this.
Wow.
And to
Wow.
add, our
Wow.
goal, yes, our goal now would be to get into a lot of schools, get the leadership of those schools, get them trained, establish these programs, and run from there.
Wow. I gotta give a big one to you, Mr. President,
Mhm. You're welcome.
because that's a lot of work and you're a full-time job. You're not a gig worker like me. You're a medical doctor, for goodness sake. You're doing a lot, and this is work that is saving lives. Now, gig workers like myself can hop here, hop, 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 but you're doing some work that is heavy. So if you could do that, I was willing to do one one thing last week. So when I came on was because I know that there's something else I've heard the chairman talk about. He calls it career parenting. That's like kind of like taking a long-term view. I'm like, I'm not that steady. I don't have that kind of brain power to stick with these kids for so long. I can hop, hop, hop and go because that's my lifestyle. So tell us about career parenting, but not in a way that will scare people like me, because I know other people that are willing to help, but they don't have the stamina that you guys have. Whatever you're eating, whatever your wife is you to eat, let us know because we want to eat that. Madam Jobab, tell us what you're giving these guys to eat because they sure have stamina. Tell us about career parenting in a way that doesn't scare those that may want to join and help, because it's also a powerful way to not just touch and go, but stay in
Mhm,
connection with that person
mhm.
and help them continue to evolve. So talk about that, because I know we'll have to wrap up and I'll go to Madame Joma and ask, how are you breaking the taboos of talking about period? People don't even want to talk about how do you break those? But I'm coming to you, Madame. So, Mr. Kijian, tell
so
us, uh,
so
career parenting.
career parenting is the holy grail of our biggest and most important program, which is the education program.
Mhm.
As you know, education is that's what brought us together, right? That is the
Yes.
core, that's the glue. We see the importance of education. We are where we are today because of education. Our parents were able to push us through school because of the education that they had. So that when we started the foundation, it was a no-brainer.
Mm.
Education was the focus, and so every other program flows
Through that.
points towards education. When you look at pure poverty, the biggest angle
Mhm.
of pure poverty is
Yeah.
Mm.
educating the young girl. And again, remember with pure poverty, girls kind of lose a couple of days of school every year. I mean, every month
Mm.
because of their cycle. So in
Mm.
all the programs that we do, education is at the center of them.
Mm.
So our education program is the biggest, and that's why
Mm.
the most resources really flow in that. And pure poverty, economic empowerment, all of those are all shining because of the education piece. Now,
Mm.
career parenting is really what drives the education program, because again, like we said earlier, we're looking at sustainability,
Mhm.
right? And career parenting kind
Mm.
of helps ensures that we walk that path,
Mm.
because then you're looking at people who are going way beyond the money. They're not just
Yeah.
trying to give a scholarship. They're
Yes.
trying to be mentors. They're trying to be present and
Yeah.
have match a face to the dollar,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So all of us. on the call are career parents.
Mhm.
We are all proud parents of kids who have already graduated. We've graduated some kids and we've
Yes.
picked up new ones, and it's a
Yes.
Wow.
very it's a very fulfilling exercise, especially for those of us in the diaspora.
Hmm.
The kids back home, they look at us different. You have broadened their mind, to give them
Mm.
the
Different perspective.
your potentials are limitless, right? The
Yes.
things you can do
Yes.
are limitless. But big credit to Royalty Wall, and unfortunately, Doris could not be on the call. They did a great job crafting this program and running it, and it's all about pairing students with sponsors, and
Mm.
so we get they have profiles for all these kids. So you pick up, you look at the profiles and you decide, okay, I want to
Mm. Hmm.
invest in this child. So then
Wow.
you're assuming financial responsibility, but also mentorship. You get to be able to communicate and go beyond. I mean, Ayanka can
And
tell you on
this
and on about
is
what
done
she had to do.
with the knowledge of the
We are
parents.
in the middle of it.
With knowledge of the parents,
Exactly.
right?
So
Okay, perfect. That's
with the
good.
Absolutely.
knowledge of the
So,
parents. So
okay.
we control the entire process. And so everything flows through us. We provide you with results. If you want to get linked up with the kids, that is all managed through
Hmm.
us and our partner,
Wow.
Reality World. And
Okay.
it is the biggest piece of the education program. It's what, when it comes to education, that is what we push the most.
Hmm.
Um, we have a education budget this year of about 18 million francs CFA, and close to 9 to 10 million of that is scooped up by the career parents.
Wow.
And so you can see how heavy, and it's just a few people, and
Yeah.
we're looking for more people. It's very rewarding. There's so many kids out there looking for role models,
Hmm.
looking for people to look up to,
Yeah.
and career parenting is just the best way to go through it. And again, we take off the stress of selection and
Hmm.
running the process. You have this machine that, from providing you with the results or how the child is doing, following them up with their
Hmm.
academic performance. There's a team that runs that for you. So all you
Hmm.
need to do is come up with the funds and
Hmm.
connect and just be a role model and a mentor for that child. So it is really one of the things we push, and we encourage people to sign up. You just need to come to us, and it's a very simple process to get involved.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
there's quite a
to
bit more that I would love for us
I,
to cover.
I think
to
Jeff wanted
add
to
to
mention
that,
something.
Okay.
to add to that is just to say your level of you the career parent determine your level of involvement. So there's
Okay.
not some big burden upon you depending on
Okay.
how much you want to be involved. We do tolerate that. Just thought I added.
No,
Yes,
that's very
and
important because
and some of them are anonymous. Some people want to be anonymous, so that is
okay.
okay.
Very
Mhm.
interesting. And I know we can only do one more question here, then do last rapid fire question, rapid fire answer. We have to wrap up in 3 minutes. But madam, I am really curious. In our community in Africa, it is very sensitive to talk about someone's body in any context, let
Mhm.
alone something as personal and private as menstrual cycle. How do you break the bonds of that, and how do you go out there and make sure people are comfortable to talk about it and then go ahead to deliver what you deliver to them?
So that's a really good question. So our team on the ground has really done a good job having a curriculum, right, that covers a lot of these aspects about periods and all the facts around periods.
Hmm.
So when we go out for a campaign, especially we target specific schools, which is easier because then you can have the boys and the girls and actually do plays. Some of the things that we do is role play, actually act a play that
Hmm.
makes it easier for them to relate to the
Other conversation.
content.
Okay.
And those plays are really showing them what they do,
Hmm.
maybe to some of their classmates, that make them feel ashamed and
Hmm.
uncomfortable about their bodies, and breaks
Hmm.
those barriers for
Hmm.
them right there, and then
Okay.
makes the children feel comfortable to talk about themselves. There are
Hmm.
still some children that would would prefer to meet one-on-one.
Yes.
And those children would identify themselves and pick somebody in our audience, one of the foot
Good, good, good.
soldiers in loyalty world, that they want to ask the questions to. That's available, and they would handle that separately, right? But there is a program where it separates, it takes the boys and girls together, we talk together, we do that role playing, and then there is separating them to talk about topics that are only related to the gender, the girls, and then separately with the boys. Because in order for us to break these barriers, boys have to be a part of the conversation. We can't leave them behind. Because if girls are ashamed, it's because the boys are around. When I was in Lords, I was never ashamed. It's only when I went to St. Beats and I realized that, okay, now boys are around. And then it started getting uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, now I have to be a little bit more careful about myself. So when that component comes in, there's a different reaction. It's very natural. And if we start addressing those things a little earlier, it would break those barriers. Another thing that Doris and her team has done is Doris actually published a book called My First Period, right? That when she goes to when they go to these places, they actually give that book, donate those books to these children, so that those who have not seen their period start to read those things in the book. It's pretty much like a conversation between a mother and a child. I have that book in the house. I'm reading it with my daughter right now. It's almost a conversation you're having with your parent, and even a part of it is with the teacher.
Yes.
When things happen as they will, how would you address it? Would you hide it, or would you just go to your teacher and talk about it? It helps them break those barriers. There's also another conversation that has to be had with parents separately, to talk about the experiences of their children, their daughters, their boys, and that is also handled so that they understand that these children are experiencing a blockage because these conversations haven't been had. And by the end of all of these deliberations, there is what we call a period poverty party, where the mother and the daughter get to face each other and commit to not, hiding things anymore, to making sure that they are more open going forward. And what we want to happen is that if there are any other children, relatives that are coming after that child, they can start learning from this person that has already had this education. So by the time we leave that community, there's a club that is set up, so that the mothers, the daughters, and the community can become a support system for each other. And it doesn't end with just our visit, right? There's a continuity, and there's a Mendem Foundation coordinator on the ground that is a connection between them and us. It's a continuity to that. So if they have any issues, they can reach out to that person who will come back to us. And so there's a cycle of things that's happening. We can still have information for a next time, a feedback loop and things like that. So it's very important. And during the visit as well, I forgot to add that we have to identify children who might need pad, and we donate part to them. And the kind of parts we have that Doris's team actually.
So instead of donating to Kenya, now you donate to Cameroon.
Yay! In my very own country. So I'm excited about that. So we actually donate usable parts that are reusable for 2 years, right? So it's
you
not
mean wash and wear?
Yeah, wash and wear. So it comes in a kit. There's about, I think, 5 to 6 of them, and there's the hygiene products. They teach them how to wash and maintain and make sure that it's cleaned up. So we also do that just to make sure that we're just not leaving the community empty, and we're taking care of those children that are really, really in need. And of course, you can never cover everybody. So I think I echo what our chairman said. We do need need donors and we need more, because we feel sad when we leave a community and we know that there was need, and
Okay.
just we didn't have enough resources to meet those needs, but there's just
Wow.
nothing we can do.
Wow. I know for a fact that we'll have to continue this some other time because there are still some questions here that I would like to ask some other time respect to the impact of period on a child's ability to learn. Those we're going to a scientific domain of that some other time, but I just want to ask a few more questions. If you can give me just one or two words, one or two, three words, that would be helpful so that we can wrap this up and then we let you go do other activities. And Doug is still at work. So, in an ideal world, Doc, how many, this is Dr. Chengwi, how many Mendem Foundation clubs would you want to have in Cameroon? How many?
Wow.
Give me a number. Give me a number. Throw me a number. I mean, you're the president, so
Yeah.
you sure have some.
Well, we are looking at they are more than 400 educational institutions in Cameroon. We will which each one of those educational institutions have one, and every major city has one or
Okay.
two.
Currently, how many are there?
Currently, as we speak, I think four of the schools in Boya have one. We just started in Bamenda with Sacred Heart, and we are looking at maybe before the December this year, there will be about 7 to 10 schools that would get these clubs in.
So about 7 to 10 clubs. Okay. Let's go to the chairman. Chairman, which is the next country you want to extend operations to? One or two countries, or maybe say regions or provinces in Cameroon? If you're, how many currently regions are you operating in? How many new regions you want to go to? And where's the next country where you want to go to? Unless you want to tell me people in Chad, people in other countries don't care about some of the facilities that you're giving to the Cameroonians. Are you saying that not? But
No, our view is Africa.
okay, thank you.
It's
So
Africa for
currently,
Africa.
how many regions are you operating in, and how many regions you want to extend to?
So right now we are in Bamenda, Boya, Limbe, Yaoundé, and a little bit of footprint in Douala. That makes 5. We would want to have it one in all the major cities in Cameroon. Of course, we want to start with Cameroon before we spread our wings to Chad, and ideally we want to have a presence in every single African nation. But
Mhm.
Cameroon is where it's going to start, where we're starting. And yes, those 5 regions for now, but definitely want to spread to other areas. But before really thinking about the spreading, the Northwest and the Southwest really have a hard time, and we would like to increase our footprint in those regions
Okay.
before really going to other regions. Yeah, because
Okay. Thank
the need is just
the
way too
need
much
is a dire one. Okay.
there. Yeah.
Last question, madam. How many girls have you served, say this year?
This year we haven't served as many as we would like to. It's probably in the hundreds, but I know that our goal has been to reach over 22,000
Mhm.
children and girls. Um, and my goal is to be able to produce those parts to a point where even teach those local regions how to do it themselves.
Okay.
That's what I define as sustainable.
Mhm.
If we can have the resources to be able to teach the locals how to
Mhm.
sustainably create their own parts,
Yes.
that would be amazing, because imagine what that would do. A girl child would never miss a class.
And I absolutely
Ever.
promise next time we will talk about sustainability. I'm leaving the question of sustainability. I'm leaving the question on impact. I'm leaving the question on a number of other operational details for next time. And I just want to thank each one of you so, so much because what you're doing personally and collectively is something that it reveals your heart. And not everyone can give both their time, their resources to such a cause and stay with it over such a prolonged period. and in a time when it's so difficult. So I want to thank Men Them Foundation, not just the men, the women them, the picking them, the family them, and all the amazing people that you are serving, to know that indeed it takes just one good person, one good organization to change the narrative of Africa. Thank you so much. God bless you on this journey, and I hope to see you at the top of a Pasamoto. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
please
Thank
donate,
you.
donate. We need donations to get the work done. Thank
We
you.
would dig even deeper into donations next time. So please bear with me, okay?
All
Thank you.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much for the day.
Thank you so
Bye.
All
much.
right. Keep
Mhm.
in touch.